Hello, my fellow listeners. Welcome back to More Than Money podcast. We are here with
Jeremiah Nash.
And we will be discussing the topic of injustice of student debt.
What roles do you think high school and or college have / play in preparing students to manage their finances?
I think that college plays the biggest role because once you leave high school, it's, you had your support, but once you're in college, it's like you're there, you have to be your main support there. So I think it's up to the colleges to create a better financial aid system for our students. Does that answer the question?
Yeah, that answers it perfect. Thank you. All right. How does your student debt affect your career choices and life decisions post-graduation?
It definitely made me think about other things that I could have done. I used to play football, so I thought about, maybe I should have just went to the NFL. I would have been rich by now. But honestly, for me, I'm passion driven. So anywhere I work at, I'm passionate about it. I'm here, I'm passionate about it. So, passion over money, right?
Do you still play football?
I do.
Okay.
I don't. Debt can definitely stop you from doing the job that you want to do sometimes because you have to pay that back. You don't have a choice. So I recommend going to school with as much scholarship as possible and no less debt as possible, because sometimes you can get that good high-paying job after you graduate, but you got a whole bunch of debt you got to pay back. So sometimes it's not worth it.
Were there any times in college where you regretted taking on student debt? If so, why?
Yes. Almost all of college, I regretted, because I had scholarship, but I had loans too. So I regretted taking out my loans, because of course you got to pay it back. But school is expensive in general, so it's hard to not take out loans.
Okay, and for the last and final question, looking back, is there anything you would have done differently in terms of financing your education?
Yes. Scholarships. There needs to be more programs for scholarships. There's scholarships everywhere, but there aren't specific programs designed for scholarships and for students to maybe go there just to do scholarships. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I would have applied to more scholarships, and I actually lost my scholarship when I got to school because I was a bonehead my freshman year. So I would have did things differently my freshman year to keep my scholarship.
Okay, thank you for coming onto our podcast and speaking with us.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jeremiah, for taking your time to take this interview with us.
You're welcome.
Have a nice day.
You too.
Hello, so we are here with
Kira Simmons.
And we will be continuing discussion of injustice and student debt. So for starters, did you have any financial support when planning for college?
The hardest thing about applying to colleges was even when I got accepted, I didn't really get a great financial package. And even the one that I settled on, I still have to pay $4,000 out of pocket every semester. So that's $8,000 a year. And this year it's gone up to $5,000. So imagine having to pay that with little to no support, and then also having a parent who's not only supporting you but supporting 4 younger kids. Yeah. So I've had to work and take out loans, and that is why I am $8,000 in debt.
How did your student debt affect your career choices and life decisions?
In terms of choosing a career, I'm majoring in a STEM area, so I'm hoping that will help pay off most of the debt in a timely manner. Because the nice thing about being in school is that they don't charge interest on your loans until you get out of school. So part of me is just thinking that I should stay in school as long as possible to avoid having to pay more than I need to. Would honestly be quicker to get a job after the 4 years and then just paying it off before I go to grad school.
Okay, the next question is, what role do you think high school and college have in preparing students to manage their finances?
Well, in my high school, I was lucky enough to have a class my senior year that told us a little bit about student loan debt and how to start building up your credit. One of my teachers suggested just get a credit card and go just make really small purchases, like get a cup of coffee every so often, or just a meal, and then just pay it off, because the earlier you start improving your credit, the better it is for you in the future, since you'll be more likely to be approved for certain loans. So I think having that background in high school was what made it somewhat easier for me to it made me feel less anxious when it came to debt in general, because I think debt is just a very scary thing. But student loan debt is not something, it's viewed as good debt. So the only kind of bad debt there is credit card debt, but I don't have a lot of that, thankfully, and I think that's mostly because of what I learned in high school.
And were there any times in college where you regretted taking on student debt? If so, why?
Could you repeat the question?
Were there any times in college where you regretted taking on student loans? If so, why?
Yes. I think for the rest of college I'll probably regret it. Just because I think it's just the idea that I have to pay it back, just the idea that there's interest on it. I feel like it's really unfair. But it kind of is what it is at this point. So.
Okay, and last but not least, looking back, is there anything you would have done differently in terms of financing your education?
I would have tried to make a lot more money before I went to college. Probably because I didn't have a job in high school, at least a year-round job. I only worked in the summer, but I probably would have worked during the school year and saved up some money in a savings account to reduce how much I had to pay in loans, or reduce how many loans I had to take out. So. But
Okay, now we are here with,
Alexandra Martinez.
and we will be continuing the discussion of injustice of student debt. So to start, did you have any financial support when planning for college?
Kind of. There is FAFSA, but FAFSA's, which is the federal aid, is really confusing to navigate and really hard to navigate. And if you make the littlest mistake, trying to fix it takes months. And then I worked in order to pay for what wasn't already being paid for by federal aid.
How did your student debt affect your career choices and life decisions post-graduation?
I'm still currently in college, and I'm coming out without debt, but I'm at the point where I don't know how I'm going to financially pay for grad school. So that's where I'm at right now. So I couldn't really answer the question. It's okay.
Okay, so how did your student debt affect your career choices and life decisions? Okay, so what roles do you think high school and college have/play in preparing students to manage their finances?
Well, for one thing, high school doesn't teach you anything about finance, and if you do take an economic class, mine was about stocks and not really helpful in terms of day-to-day finances or even how to pay for college. So I think the one thing they could do is actually add that to the curriculum.
I agree.
Because not everyone's going to go to college after high school, so you need to start very foundational, but also add that extraness for people who will go to college or may go to college later. The second thing, if you are in college, kind of the same thing, implementing workshops for students to go to learn about basic finances, loans, scholarships, other funding opportunities, how to build credit, literally everything you would need to know on a day-to-day basis. And just have a class, that would be kind of cool too. Financial wellness.
Thank you. Alrighty. Next question. Were there any times in college where you regretted taking on student debt? If so, why?
I mean, if I had the good fortune to not take student debt, But I've had the misfortune to basically be living on a month-to-month basis from student housing. So tuition I was fine, but housing is outrageously and ridiculously expensive. And every single month that I get a paycheck, I have to put all of it, and sometimes more from like a previous month, just to go into student housing. Or I would also say that COVID, although with all its bad stuff, the one thing that was good financially, what they did pay community colleges for a whole year. So I think that's also what helped me come out of undergraduate without any debt.
Okay, last but not least, on to our final question. Looking back, is there anything you would have done differently in terms of financing your education?
There isn't anything I'll do differently because as an older student, they no longer care about what your parents make. So if your parents aren't helping you financially, then they only look at what you make, and because I'm just a part-time worker, I don't make a lot of money, that's how I get extra funding. I'm all myself, but you're required to put your parents or your guardians or whatever. So that I because it took a long time to get my degree, because I'm 25 and most people graduate at 21 or 20 or whatever, it allowed me to be able to just focus on what I make financially, which isn't enough. So I would have still stuck with going to community college first because it's cheaper, and then paying my own taxes so that I can get the extra grants needed. And then I did apply for scholarships, so that's also helpful. And then I applied to other programs that provide stipends that also help finance my education. So in a short story, no, I wouldn't have changed anything.
Okay, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely.